Take a deep breath for a moment. Feel the air in your lungs. Now, I want to ask you a question that has haunted kings, scientists, and philosophers for millennia. If you could choose the date of your own end, would you ever pick forever? Take a long pause. We humans have an awkward relationship with our mortality. It's the ultimate bug in our system that we've been trying to patch since the beginning of time. Think back to the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang. He sent thousands of people on ships to find mythical islands, desperate for a potion that would grant him eternal life. Fast forward to today, and the setting has changed, but the obsession remains. In the glass towers of Silicon Valley, billionaires are investing billions into longevity science, trying to treat death not as a certainty, but as a technical problem to be solved. We fight, we struggle, and we fear the ticking of the clock. But while we're busy building labs and writing code to stop time, there is a creature that has been living out its own version of forever in the cold, dark silence of the Atlantic floor. It doesn't use technology. It doesn't have a bank account. It just lives. It's a creature that was once so disrespected, it was called the cockroach of the sea. It was fed to prisoners and used as fertilizer. But today, it stands as one of the greatest biological mysteries on Earth. Today, we're talking about the lobster. Take a breath. To understand why the lobster is so special, we first have to understand why you get old. Biologically speaking, you are a masterpiece of copying. Your cells are constantly dividing, replacing your skin, repairing your muscles, keeping your heart beating. But every time a cell copies itself, it's like making a photocopy of a photocopy. Eventually, the quality starts to drop. The secret lies at the end of your DNA strands, in structures called telomeres. Think of your DNA as a shoelace. At the end of that shoelace, there's a small plastic tip, the aglet, that keeps the string from fraying. That is your telomere. Every time your cells divide, that plastic tip gets a little bit shorter, shorter and shorter. After about 50 to 70 divisions, a limit scientists call the Hayflick limit, that plastic tip is gone. The DNA starts to unravel. The cell can no longer repair itself. This is the biological definition of aging. But here is where the lobster breaks the law. Here is where the lobster looks at the Hayflick limit and simply ignores it. Take a breath. Lobsters produce an incredible enzyme called telomerase in massive quantities, and they do it throughout their entire bodies for their entire lives. This enzyme acts like a tiny construction crew that constantly repairs and lengthens the plastic tips of their DNA shoelaces. While our tips are wearing out, the lobster's tips are being rebuilt to look brand new every single time a cell divides. In a lab, if you look at the cells of a young lobster and compare them to one that's 80 years old, you can't tell the difference. They don't get weak. They don't lose their appetite. They even don't lose their ability to reproduce. In fact, an older lobster is often more fertile and stronger than a young one. They possess what we call biological immortality. Take a breath. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds perfect. Why haven't we figured out how to do that yet? But nature never gives a gift without a price. And for the lobster, the price of immortality is a terrifying physical struggle. You see, unlike us, a lobster lives inside a suit of armor, its exoskeleton. And while its internal organs are immortal and keep growing, that hard shell does not. Imagine being trapped inside a suit of iron that never gets bigger while your body continues to expand. It's a slow-motion claustrophobia. Eventually, the lobster becomes a prisoner in its own skin. To survive, it has to molt. It has to shed its entire identity. This isn't just shedding, it's a violent, exhausting ordeal. The lobster has to pump itself full of water until its old shell cracks open. Then it has to painstakingly pull every single part of its body, its legs, its antennae, even the lining of its stomach out of the old shell. During this process, the lobster is as soft as a piece of jelly. It has no protection. It is an agonizing pain. If a predator finds it now, it's over. If it gets stuck halfway out, it's over. And here is the tragedy of the lobsters forever. The bigger you get, the harder it is to molt. A 100-year-old lobster has a shell that is incredibly thick and heavy. It takes a massive amount of metabolic energy to pump enough water to break that shell. Scientists believe eventually the lobster simply runs out of fuel. It becomes too tired to be reborn. It stays trapped inside its old, rotting shell. Bacteria begin to grow. The armor that was meant to protect it becomes its coffin. This is the paradox. It doesn't die of old age in the way we do. It dies because it becomes too successful at growing. If a lobster manages to survive the predators, the fishing nets, and the exhaustion of the molt, it becomes a silent witness to time. There was a lobster caught off the coast of Newfoundland named Lewis. He was estimated to be 132 years old. Think about what Lewis has seen. While he was crawling slowly across the dark sand of the Atlantic, the Titanic was sinking miles away. He lived through 2 world wars, the invention of the airplane, the landing on the moon, and the birth of the digital age, all while his own cells remained as young as the day he was born. There's something haunting about that, a creature that doesn't count years, only shells. A creature that reminds us that while we reach for the stars and try to live forever, nature has already mastered the art of the infinite, but it tucked it away under a rock in the freezing dark of the ocean. So what is the lesson here? Perhaps it's that death isn't a bug to be fixed. For us, death might be the very thing that prevents the biological prison the lobster faces. Our limits are what make our moments precious. We don't have forever, and that is exactly why today matters. The next time you feel like you're running out of time, remember the lobster. Its life is a cycle of breaking itself apart just to grow a little more until it can't break anymore. Maybe instead of wishing for an eternal shell, we should be grateful for the time we have to live outside of one. Thank you for diving deep with us today on the Eternal Deep. If this story moved you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, your time is limited, and that is what makes it beautiful.